Kia ora, huida, Wildkard. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yes, you are here today because it is my pleasure and privilege to entertain you when we talk about the greatest sport in the world, rugby. And yes, this has been a long-anticipated Rugby World Cup rematch, and where I thought the All Blacks was going to be out looking for blood, looking for redemption, they put on a much better performance than they did against England, and another big step forward against Argentina. And boy, despite all that, despite that huge progression for the All Blacks under the new coach, Razor Robinson, this young, talented, just unbelievable Springboks team came out tonight and pulled themselves out of the ditch from behind to win the match, 31 points to 27. That was absolutely one of the most impressive performances from the Springboks team for a very long time. You know, we've seen the Springboks blow out the All Blacks in that match last year at Twickenham. But this game, the fact that the Springboks came from behind with all the youngsters on the field is somewhat more important and more impressive than that performance at Twickenham. Yeah, because that team at Twickenham was building towards the World Cup. They were peaking. This team is revamped, new strategies, new players, and the team was under the pump, under tremendous amount of pressure, and they stayed composed. And most importantly, something that I loved seeing is that the players backed themselves to not go for the 3 points and went for the kill, went for the hard route, right? And walked out the winners. That is a quality that cannot be, taught. That is a quality that is special. That is the quality of champions. That is the difference between the Wallabies losing every bloody game, milking 3 points, and becoming world champions. It's just, I was so blown away by that. I was genuinely wondering how the Springboks was going to come back for the 10-point deficit with albeit very young team on the field in the second half. They did it with control. They did it with composure. I was blown away by how impressive that was. For the All Blacks, despite the great improvement, I did notice that there was a very big shift in the style that they were playing. They actually played a very England style, especially when it comes to the kicking game. They did this thing where Damien McKenzie would get the ball midfield and high bomb into the Springboks half around the 10-meter mark. So he would go around his own 10-meter mark to the Springboks 10-meter mark with a high bomb crossfield kick almost. And they did this a lot this game. And this is something that England rugby did against Argentina, especially in that opening match where England did like 5 drop goals to win the match. This strategy is like England was able to capitalize on that strategy for beating Argentina in the Rugby World Cup because they were able to follow that up with pressure and penalty. They had Ben Earl getting in there, getting those turnover, dominating the breakdowns, and they had the ability to convert those into points, whether it be drop goals, whether it be penalties. And the All Blacks just weren't able to convert that in nearly as high efficiency as England did in that test match at the Rugby World Cup. And the Springboks, all credit to the Springboks, was handled the high ball extremely well. Apalele Farsi, incredible under the high ball. And in addition, the Springboks stayed disciplined, not giving New Zealand that many opportunities to kick penalties. Only 5 penalties was given out by the Springbok for the entire game. Unbelievably good. And yeah, and that's entire strategy that the All Blacks wanted to pursue just didn't yield any return for them. The one thing that was really good for the All Blacks is those set play. They clearly had, planned a few moves that they wanted to deploy against the Springboks. When they did that, they found space out wide, and Caleb Clark converted those very potently into points. But yeah, outside of that, the kicking game for the Springboks was way more variety. Long gone the days just high box kick, high ball into the 22. There was so much different variety from Sasha Feinberg and Gomez Zulu and Apalele Farsi. And it was very hard to decipher where the ball was actually going to go. They were literally like soccer kicks from from Sasha, right, to his wingers. And like, there was one point where I think it was Curdy Ardenza. If he just like followed up with it was literally a soccer pass, right? Like a soccer pass to Curdy Ardenza, and Ardenza followed that up with another, grabber kick of his own, soccer kick of his own, not grabber kick. He didn't even touch the ball with his hands. Grab a kick of his own and try to follow that up into a try. And he almost did that. And like just that variety of the kicking from the Springboks was so hard to decipher, and it really put the New Zealanders on a bit of an edge with that style that was on display. That chaos was created from a lack of predictability out of the Springboks side. Quite the big contrast to the very predictable high ball kind of big lobby, kicks from one side of the field to the other. With the All Blacks played tonight. So that was another thing where I thought there was a clear, decisive win for the youngsters, for the Springboks in that kicking front. And in addition to that, the Springboks brought more physicality. The tries that the Springboks scored was nothing crazy, nothing, compared to the New Zealand tries, was much more brutal. Just pick and go, pick and go, pick and go. And the New Zealanders just did not front up in that physical contest around the tight areas. There was a lack of, especially in the second half, there was a lack of defense around that breakdown. There was the pillar and post was missing really, and the Springboks just keep jamming that channel and got themselves through with a try at the end to win the game essentially. And yeah, it was quite it was quite disappointing. In fact, the Springboks was winning the physicality contest early in the game as well, and I thought they probably could have scored tries in the first half instead of kicking for goals if they backed themselves with that physicality as well. So yeah, All Blacks, not very often I would say this, but really lost this contest physically up front as well there. When it comes to scrummaging, this was something I was very intrigued about. Two of the best scrums in the world right now. The New Zealand scrum has been absolutely destroying Super Rugby. And yeah, there was a pretty good contest. First half, it looked like Tamati Williams was getting a lot of pressure from Franz Maherba. There was a lot of collapse in the scrum. Whether it's deliberate or not, you can argue with that, but it was just so much pressure from Maherba on that tight hair side. In the second half, Hergas Steenekamp tried to get underneath Tyra Lomax, but I thought Lomax did really well to hold that up. And second, after Lomax came off, what was his name? Fletcher Neal did well to neutralize that as well. But there was brief moments where Steenekamp was on top of it, was getting that bit of an upper hand in the second half on that loose hair side for the Springboks. So very, very high technical contest in that regard as well. Another thing, the big disaster, huge area disaster against the All Blacks was the breakdown. There was so many breakdown penalties against the All Blacks. I thought there were a couple tough calls against the All Blacks. I felt, especially at the end, I thought Ardie Savea got that turnover at the end. Couldn't quite get the call, but overall, the breakdown was just one-sided affair to the Springboks, turnovers after turnovers, penalties after penalties, and yeah, just something that I think was a technique issue and also maybe a bit of urgency was not quite there. Every time that the Springboks were right on it, every time there was a breakdown, and the All Blacks just a little bit lackluster. It was almost like, the All Blacks were trying to pick their breakdowns, whereas the Springboks just attacking the breakdown relentlessly, regardless, and getting a much higher percentage in those, whereas the All Blacks are trying to pick up opportunities and, trying to be efficient and not really. It's almost like that saying where you miss 100% of the shots you don't fire, and it was kind of like that. They were, the All Blacks just weren't firing enough shots in terms of contesting that breakdown to get those turnovers. Damian de Linde, like I already mentioned, getting a lot of turnovers as a result of that. Lionel Moores, the All Blacks scored one of the more tries, really well set up, and really just didn't go for that again. Didn't really get that same more dominance as the Springboks did in the second half, especially with the bomb squad. And the one thing that obviously everybody's going to talk about is the Bongi Mbonambi try from the maul. Did he knock it on? Yeah, there was a maul in the first half where he broken away, and it looked like he lost contact with the ball, but the law says it needs to show clear separation. So I don't know. The TMO was, definitely, I don't know what's going on there. The TMO didn't really look at that. It looked like the ball did lose control of the ball, but you could argue, if you're a South African, that whether or not he lost contact of the ball, whether there was clear separation or not, that's a different question. I did feel that, the angle that was shown on camera, there was no separation. But I think I did feel like if they had shot a different angle, there would have been a separation between the hand and the ball. Yeah, very, very disappointing to not see a proper replay and proper review on that try. And I think a lot of New Zealanders will feel very, very disgruntled about that decision there. And I don't blame you. That was a pretty poor. At least they should have looked at it, to say the least, on that one. And outside of those key points, let's have a look at the match stats of the game. Springboks 375 run minutes, the All Blacks 356. The turnovers conceded 12 against the Springboks, 13 against the All Blacks. Defense-wise as well, Springboks way better. 17 missed tackles out of 110. All Blacks 127 tackles out of tackles and 27 missed tackles. Oh man, that is almost doubling. Not quite there, but almost doubling. 40% more about that. Missed tackles over the Springboks. And and kicks in play. 33 kicks for the Springboks, 28 for the All Blacks. I think the difference is the variety. The All Blacks kicking was a little bit too predictable. I thought it was very easy. And whereas the Springboks was much better. I don't want to say much more creative and much more responsive, spontaneous on their kicking than the All Blacks, and definitely got in front. There was a couple of interesting incidents I saw. There was one conversion that was disallowed against the Springboks, timed out, and there was one conversion that Damian McKenzie missed because the time was very short. He only had 4 seconds to kick the ball, and he missed that one because of that. And obviously, under Rassie Erasmus, the Springboks is still unable to kick a drop goal. Actually, someone let me know, has there actually been a drop goal kicked successfully under Rassie Erasmus? I wait for your reply in the comments. I don't think there has been. I can't remember, at least since the last World Cup cycle. Maybe there was one before the last World Cup cycle, but I can't remember. Yeah, still unable to successfully kick one. There have been plenty of attempts during the World Cup, and recently as well. I don't think there has been a single one. Am I wrong? I think I might be. Anyway, let me know I'm wrong, but I can't actually, in top of my head, think of one. Kicks in hand, bit more kicking meters from the Springboks, 848 to the 825 for the All Blacks. Lineouts, pretty good overall. There was a number of overthrows for the Springboks. There was a number of overthrows for the All Blacks and the Springboks. 2 lineouts lost for the Springboks, 1 for the All Blacks. Scrums, no loss for either side, but I did think that the Springboks had a tiny bit of edge there, as I've already talked about. Here's the part where the game was pretty much, the All Blacks strategy wasn't working for them. 5 penalties conceded for the Springboks, only 3 in kicking range. 14 penalties conceded for the All Blacks, with 1 yellow card for repeated penalties. And 10 inside kicking range, and the Springboks backed themselves to go for the try. Despite the All Blacks really had those set piece nailed down, converting those into points, but they really lacked any other method of scoring in terms of just general play. The All Blacks just look a little bit out of ideas, especially compared to the Springboks in the way they wanted to attack. There was a very clear, you can see that the Springboks had a very clear idea of the goals where they wanted to, of the goal they wanted to achieve. It depends on which part of the field they were on, and they knew exactly how to execute those game plans. Whereas the All Blacks are kind of just like, let's roll the dice, right, and see what happens. And there was a lot of rolling of the dice with predictable kicking from the All Blacks. And so let's have a quick recap of the game. I thought it was really interesting that the Springboks decided, not Springboks, the South Africans decided to fly the airplane over the field during the haka. I was like, whoa, that's another level of disrespect to the haka. I mean, I don't know if they did that on purpose. Maybe they just happened to time it. Maybe it just happened to happen during the haka, but it was timed perfectly in the middle of the haka to fly the plane over. And it was a pretty big smackdown if that was what they were trying to achieve. The first points were scored by the All Blacks. They had a penalty. They kicked the penalty for the line out. They went for the maul. You could potentially argue that there was a little bit of shepherding going on. The maul kind of broken off and then just went off like a separate segment went off, and it was running into a player. You could potentially argue that. I think some people were talking about it. Sia Khaleesi was asking that, but the referee said that was fine. Leading to this maul, there was a yellow card against Apalele Farsi. There was a Ethan Blackadder got tackled and he tried to pop the ball up to by Farsi. He popped the ball up for Sam Cane, and Farsi just got off the ground in the offside position and tackled Sam Cane, and that was in a position where the All Blacks could have scored a try, so he was sent off for a yellow card there just before the try was scored by the Maul. And there was a nice 50-22 kicked by the All Blacks. So I thought Rieko Ioane did pretty well this game. Was a lot of, brought a bit of physicality, was able to breach the defensive line quite efficiently this game. It took till 16 minutes into the game for the Springboks to get themselves back on the ball. Again, they had a penalty. They went for the try instead of going for the goal. Sasha did show he could kick 60 meters as well this game, so he wasn't like they weren't able to kick this in range. But anyway, they went for the line out, they went for the Maul. Bongi Mbonambi just peeled off. Really good, strong carry. Dunked the ball over the try line. Beautiful try. 5 points to 7. This is one that it looked like he had knocked on the ball. I thought they should have reviewed it, but nah, whatever. You get, like the referee 50-50. You could argue the first try was shepherding, and second try, maybe there was a knock on. That was, I think, yeah. Anyway, Sasha wasn't able to kick the goal because he timed out for this one. There was another bit of interesting incident as well with the game. So there was one kickoff where the ball went out and Rieko Ioane looked like had touched the ball as the ball was out of bound. So there was a lot of booing from the stadium, and the referee basically explained that Rieko had one of his foot in touch, and if he was already in touch and the ball had traveled past the sideline, then it's out on the full against the Springboks. If you wanted to think about this as, sometimes players catches the ball out, despite the fact that they were the last person to touch the ball, when the ball was out, it's still the ball, you still consider the ball out on the floor. It's exactly the same as I say, except this time Rieko did not catch the ball. He just kind of like let the ball hit his hand, but still had 1 foot out on the bound. So that is still out, and it is a scrum for the All Blacks from the kickoff. And there was another incident, a similar incident as well for the Springboks, where there was a ball going out. I think it was fighting, it was maybe a 50-22, and what's the name, Cheslin Kobe jumped out, and did this beautiful, knocked the ball back into the field, and his foot was on the line as he jumped out. So there was still, again, despite the fact that he was the last person to touch the ball, I think this was a Springbok ball actually. Despite that he was the last person to touch the ball out of bound, it was still a Springbok throw because his foot was already on the line when he jumped out. So the ball was out, despite the fact that Kobe was the one who touched the ball last, and it was still a Springboks throw. It's a very similar situation there between the two sides. 29 minutes into the game, there was a penalty, and this was 60 meters out, and Sasha popped this one through. Nice and easy. Yeah, still had a bit of distance there left. Could probably go a bit further, to be honest. 8 points to 7. Really, really beautiful kick from Sasha there. 33 minutes into the game. The Springboks were trying to run the ball out of their own half. There was a quick turnover against for the All Blacks. Just nice counter attack, a quick breakdown ball, and there was a Damien McKenzie got the ball, dumping and pass, dumping and run, and then pass the ball to Tyra Lomax. Lomax saw what Damien McKenzie just did and went, I can do that too. He ran up, dummy, and Cody Alensa ran past him, went for the intercept, thought it was a prop, didn't throw the intercept pass, kept running, and then made the pass, and then just good hands down the wing. Caleb Clark, big legs, drive down the sideline, try time for the All Blacks. 8 points to 12. 35 minutes into the game. D-Make misses this one. He only had 4 seconds to kick this one or something. So he was, this one wasn't the one. He had 4 seconds. But yeah, he missed this one. 35 minutes into the game. The Springboks had a scrum penalty. They kicked for this one, 11 points to 12. And then just before halftime, Beauden Barrett almost fumbles another opportunity for the Springboks. The clock was red just ticked before he kicked the ball out, just before the clocks went red, and the hooter went off. So there was a final play for the Springboks, and just outside the 22 as well, the New Zealand 22, but the Springboks was not able to convert that into points. So halftime score, 11 points to 12 to the New Zealand. Second half starts, the Springboks had this setup where they like to have basically the Siya Khaleesi crash into the 13 channel. So they did this quite a few times in this game. And the start of the second half, again, this was a Springbok line out. The ball went to the back line, and it was the exact same play they've been doing pretty much the whole game. The 12 feed the ball to the Siya Khaleesi, or maybe another forward to crash into the 13 channel, and then basically freeing up Jesse Creel to make the next play out wide. So they tried to do this play again, and this time Jordie Barrett knew this was happening, read it perfectly, intercept, ran down the field, try time, 11 points to 19, perfectly timed that for Jordie Barrett for the All Blacks. 45 minutes into the game, the bomb squad comes on. The South Africans had a penalty. They went for the line out again, and they couldn't quite convert this line out. They did get a penalty advantage for against New Zealand. What's his name? Cheslin Kolbe at this point had the ball. He bumped up Scotty the Grub. I'm pretty sure Scotty is like at least 3 times the weight of Cheslin Kolbe, but he got bumped up like a child. It was just like one of the most craziest thing you're gonna see. Like the guy that's twice the size of Kolbe gets bumped up in a tackle. And anyway, they went for another opportunity. They got another penalty. And eventually Springboks say, yeah, we're going to take the 3 here. 14 points to 19. And then right from the kickoff, 46 minutes of the game, immediately turnover for the All Blacks. Gets a penalty back. Kicks the scoreboard back up. 14 points to 22. And then 48 minutes into the game, another penalty for the Springboks. Just relentless pressure. A lot of physicality. Again, the breakdown was just starting to become more and more of an issue for the All Blacks. The referee offers a warning for not rolling away quick enough. So another 3 points for the Springboks, 17 points to 22. 51 minutes into the game, there was a line-out overthrow for the All Blacks. This was Jordie Barrett. I think there was a deliberate play from the All Blacks, knocks the ball back. And then Damien McKenzie just taken on the game line, pass over, good draw and pass. And then Caleb Clark down the sideline. This was a beautiful set play for the try for the All Blacks. Suddenly the scoreboard ticks up to 17 points to 27, and it's looking very, very tough for the Springboks to claw back a 10-point lead. And the scrum battle is heating up. Stenenkamp is looking like he's getting a bit of a slight advantage over Lomax. And the kicking game as well is showing that there was a nice little play where Farsi had the ball kicked to him, and he just like kicked over the top and regathered himself. And then again, probably just trying those kicking shuffling up the kicking style as well, making it really. There was he followed up with a little grubber kick down the sideline. Could have turned that into a try if it wasn't overcooked a little bit. But finally, 66 minutes into the game, there was another penalty. Springboks did not go for the 3 points. They could have kicked that 3. They did not go for 3 points. They go for the line out, and sure enough, the line out more turns into a yellow card against Tuanga Farsi for side entry. And then they went for the line out again, and this time they did not quite get the line out more into the try, but this is pick and go, and eventually Albertus Smith Burger pick and go under the post try. Again, the physicality around the tight areas was just not there for the All Blacks. The scoreboard 24 points to 27. 73 minutes of the game, another penalty. The Springboks could have just taken the penalty to go for the draw, and this is what was really impressive. They went for the line out again in an easily kickable position for Sasha. And they wanted to finish again. They want to go for the win. They went for the line out. Good defense by the All Blacks from the line out more, but just wasn't enough. Pick and go. And eventually, Grant Williams, right, picked up and just looked up in front of him. Again, the defense around the ruck was just not there. Went for himself. Try time, 31 points to 27. Finally, the game was just ticking down. There was a lot of kicking back and forth between two sides. The All Blacks just keep trying the same move. Crossfield wasn't working out. And the Springboks was actually trying different varieties when it comes to the counter kicking. So the All Blacks was just completely getting like dominated here by the kicking game. Wasn't able to get out of their own half. And then eventually, there was a Adi Savia went for a turnover. The breakdown was penalized. And the Springboks just ran the clock down and ended the game. 31 points to 27. A very young, very promising team from the Springboks pulling out a massive win, comeback win against the All Blacks in Johannesburg. Really, really well done. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts about this game. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later for the Wallabies versus Argentina. Cheers.